Hello again, adventurer. Are you ready for my words to fill a void in your very being? Well, that's probably unlikely, so I encourage you to lower your expectations, but not so low that you become convinced that all your efforts do no good at all. We'll be practicing our skill of clarity again today, and as we've encountered a bit before, sometimes the more we practice clarity, the more things get, well, unclear. The more you pay attention to your own mind, the more you realize just how complicated things can be. Voices of advice and guidance swirl around inside you, from parents and guardians, from friends, from authority figures. Sometimes we don't even realize how many voices or images or influences are playing in our minds until we begin to slow down and actually pay attention to them. There's a quote which comes to me by way of meditation instructor Sebene Selassie, but the quote is originally by Krishnamurti and popularized by Jane Fonda, and it says, "You think you're thinking your thoughts. You are not. You are thinking the culture's thoughts." This speaks to the way in which the content of our minds are as much a product of our environment, our family of origin, the people around us, and generations of culture and messaging, at least as much as they are informed by the specific circumstances we find ourselves in. The thoughts our brains produce depend a great deal on the frame of reference we have been given over the course of our lives. And this has immensely practical applications. If you were discouraged from crying as a child, perhaps because of gender norms, or because your parents didn't like the sound, or because no one was there to comfort you, then even if you decide as an adult that it's okay and healthy to cry, your brain will very likely still experience difficulty allowing you to do so. This is because when we are taught that some responses are good, that they will get us what we want, affection, affirmation, belonging, and that others are bad and leave us feeling rejected, isolated, and insecure, then our brains internalize these patterns, imprinting them at a very deep level. And even though you may be facing real-time suffering as a result of repressed emotions, your brain will still struggle to unlearn these survival mechanisms from your past. The result of this is that our minds can tend to get really crowded and muddled. After all, they're juggling unfathomable levels of information in an attempt to keep us safe, keep us alive, keep us healthy, keep us comfortable. So when you start to pay attention to your thoughts, it's very, very normal for it to feel like you're a single barista working in Times Square on a Friday morning coffee rush. There are so many needs, so many critics saying, "I need this," or "don't do that." And some of them will be conflicting. It can be bamboozling, to say the least. But your brain already has well-established ways of juggling all of this. Most of it just happens instinctively when we're on autopilot. So if you try to come at problems from a new angle, say fighting evil by non-violently helping people by being active in your community, or by paying attention to your thoughts instead of letting them buzz in the background, you can be met with some real confusion and resistance. There's another well-known line in a poem by a very famous meditator, Rumi, who notes, "Out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. Meet me there." This is helpful and welcome energy when we start to pay attention to the substance of our thoughts. With almost every thought that arises, a judgment about that thought often follows quickly alongside it. Most of us naturally label our thoughts as good or bad, right or wrong, sometimes before we even realize we're doing it. And neither Rumi nor myself are advocating for a kind of moral relativism that makes every action equally ethical or kind. But we do have to be willing to suspend our judgments, at least in the short term. This is why, when we come to these practices of noting our thoughts, we try to remain as descriptive as possible, even when the thought or experience we are having may feel uncomfortable. With practice, we can find a little space from the discomfort by noticing it rather than identifying with it. And the more we notice the way that our brain is so eager to decide what is right and wrong, comfortable or uncomfortable, the more we can find space to breathe, empathy for others who may think differently than we do, appreciation for how complex our lives and our minds can be, and the diverse range of beautiful options which are present in every moment. So in that spirit, let's give this a go. The vibe is, it's okay to feel overwhelmed. Return to what feels supportive and comfortable as you need to, and a soft intention towards giving ourselves permission to just notice thoughts instead of judging them, just for the next 10 minutes or so. Okay, let's begin. Begin by noticing the shape that your body is in right now, before you even make any adjustments. It's okay if you already have, but if not, just see what shape your body naturally takes. And when you've noticed that, then see if there's any adjustments you want to make. Seated, standing, lying down, settling into whatever balance of alertness and relaxation is possible for you right now. And we can greet this practice non-judgmentally by accepting that the shape we're in right now is the one that we've got. Maybe you have a voice that says, my posture today isn't as good as it was yesterday or last week. Can you notice that and let it be okay? Great. When you're ready, you can allow your attention to drift to your most comfortable anchor. Maybe the breath, maybe your heartbeat, maybe a touch point. Whatever it is for you, just gathering your attention in this point. Gently, not forcing it. If you can only get 12% of your attention to rest on your anchor, that's okay. Let that 12%, or whatever it is for you, continue to come to rest here. Maybe some more of your attention arises here, maybe less. It's okay if it's fluid, a little slippery. And of course, as we know, your attention will get up and wander around like a distracted child. When you notice that, as gently as you can, just bring it back to your anchor. Give your attention a marshmallow and a pat on the head. You'll do this as many times as you need to. You can introduce counting if you haven't already, and that's supportive. Just staying with this practice of concentration for a few moments longer. And notice how your attention feels different now than it did maybe just before we began. No right or wrong, just noticing. And if it feels good, When you're ready, at your own pace, allow your attention to widen, to open up a little bit, to include just your body sensations. In the spirit of not overwhelming ourselves too much, let's just focus on what things we can feel. Feet on the ground, or maybe resting on each other. Butt in the chair, air on your ears, or between your hair. Whatever you feel. Just kind of taking inventory of the sensations we notice in our body. Good. And if you want to, you can widen that focus a little bit more, zooming out to include whatever thoughts arise. Just watching them like clouds in a sky or ships on a sea. Whatever image works for you, or no image at all. Just observing your thoughts. We do this with as much curiosity as we can. As you sit here, observing yourself, your body, your mind, what do you see? If it's helpful, you can introduce those notes if you haven't already, and if it's supportive to you. Mind racing. Thinking about yesterday. The exact words you choose don't matter. You're just giving each one a little name, as non-judgmentally as you can. Just noticing what comes up for you. As always, if this feels overwhelming, if the thoughts come so quickly that you can't even tell where one begins and one ends, or you just feel like it, then you can always go back to your anchor point, a home base. Otherwise, even if it feels a little overwhelming, if you can maintain a sense of balance, or if it feels good, maybe invigorating, then just stay here, observing your thoughts as they appear, as they change, move, and disappear, leaving in their place other thoughts, which you can also curiously observe. And it is, of course, very likely, just as when we pick an anchor, that our mind will wander away. Our attention will drift. Maybe we find ourselves inside of a thought, rather than on the outside noticing it. You get kind of caught up, maybe for 30 seconds, maybe for 10 minutes. When you notice this attention wandering, Rather than becoming uptight or frustrated, critical or judgmental, this moment of noticing that you've become distracted is the absolute moment we're looking for. Once you notice that you've become caught up in a thought, you become aware that you are thinking, hey, I was distracted. And then as gently, as softly, with as much kindness as you can bring your attention back to just observing the thoughts as they pass. You can spend a few more moments here, curiously, non-judgmentally observing your thoughts to the extent that you can. And when you're ready, you can shift your attention back to just those thoughts which pertain to body sensations. Hands resting on one another, eyes open or closed. Just those real feelings that you can sense in your body. And when you're ready, we can narrow that attention just a little more to our anchor point. Resting at this point, this home base, this familiar place. Enjoying a few more breaths or moments here as we wrap up our practice together for today. Fantastic. However that went for you, remember that sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something. And if you're anything like me, you've probably spent a good deal of your life trying to ignore all the zillion and one thoughts that your brain creates in a single moment. So as always, treat yourself with some kindness. Do a dance, drink some water, curl up under a blanket, eat a cookie, whatever works. You are such a wonderful hero's apprentice, and if you kept doing this for this long, take a moment to recognize that you are really showing up for yourself in a meaningful way. Thank you for your time and for your practice. Until next time.